the Russians in like the long term are definitely like winning this war. Like it's not even close. Like I mean, just like a few days ago, the EU foreign affairs minister was like the EU's like depleted of weapons. Like Russia is just because Russia's losing territory in Ukraine doesn't mean they're losing the war. Like territory in this type of war means absolutely nothing. We're looking at attritional war like we've never seen it before. This is worse than World War One, Verdun, basically. Like
Well, that's
to
yeah. That's
compare, like
you're
to
making a
compare,
fantastic point.
I
You're
like
making
it that you bring that up because that's exactly the strategy the
like
Germans
Ukraine,
use
like
against
Russia
the
is
Russians, and they're
eating
so much stronger that this is like
Russia is eating
ridiculous.
NATO equipment. Russia is eating NATO equipment. No NATO equipment is prepared or built or maintained for this type of war. None. M4s, no. Abrams, no. That's why when you start talking about this type of NATO equipment going into Ukraine, we start looking at issues that Ukraine just can't solve if that type of equipment went to Ukraine.
And plus,
Abrams,
they're efficiently trained.
impossible to maintain. M4s, impossible to maintain.
And
F16s,
logistically, it's a
F16,
nightmare.
they need so much equipment to maintain an F16 that even one sortie of an F16 would probably be down for a day or two at max. Like at minimum, it would be down for a day or two.
Is that
I
correct,
mean,
Todd?
I actually want to hear Peyton expand on that a bit more because that's I find that pretty curious. That I was asking if Peyton can expand on that a bit more, the intricacies of how much maintenance these things require, because that's actually pretty interesting.
Man hours is huge.
Let's talk specifically about pilot equipment. I want to expand.
They don't come without
that's what
maintenance.
I specifically do. They don't come without maintenance. You're right. There's so much equipment for the pilots. If we're talking about 1, 3, 4, 5 sorties a day, that is extensive use of equipment that even in the U.S. military doesn't even get used that often. Like, I mean, parachutes, like one parachute a day that I could do takes like 1 day. One parachute for one pilot, mind you. And a lot of the times, like I imagine for Ukraine that they're sacrificing a lot of like safety for just getting their jets in the air. I can't imagine that they're spending full time keeping their pilots like safe. I imagine pilots are so valuable. That's why I'm like, there's no way that Ukraine is effectively and efficiently letting their pilots survive. I don't think they allow them the training time or the flight time that they need to even do effective missions. To be honest, I can't imagine that. I especially when people start talking about send F-16s to Ukraine, like we like you know how much flight time it would take just to get one pilot efficiently trained in an F-16.
I thought it was F-15s. I thought it was F-15s. The Eagles.
No, they're talking about F-16s.
I didn't hear about that. That's crazy.
F-16. I know that is crazy. Especially, me personally, I don't think the U.S. Air Force would ever give up their F-16s to Ukraine. That's crazy to me personally. I mean, like in comparison, like I feel like that even if F-16s went to Ukraine, they'd be at such a huge disadvantage because of the war limitations that the U.S. has put on Ukraine, especially with strikes not being in Russia. I ignore some of the recent, strikes on air bases in Crimea or close to Moscow, stuff like that. But generally and overall, like, I feel like the operational periods of Su-57s and Su-35s with the R-37M system for BVR would be almost just impossible for Ukraine to handle.
Actually, I don't think you even need to use Russian aircraft for this example. You can use Russian air defenses because that's what Russia's experience is.
S-400s, S-300s, like people talk about how ineffective the systems have been, but that's not true. Like
those are the old 80s versions.
Yeah, enough SAM systems, especially because I feel like anything with the word anti in it is probably 20, 30 years ahead of its counterpart that it's supposed to be countering, especially if you look at the Javelin systems or any type of system that's like a S-300, S-400. There's not really many weapons that counter those type of systems. Even seed weapons like the KH-28 or something like that struggle to counter the S-300 systems that have a lot of anti-interception capabilities that aircraft just haven't been able to deal with.
It's not the system so much as the armament that comes with them, right? So the F-16 in itself doesn't mean anything. The missiles that come with it mean everything. With the Abrams, for example, in 2020, a new round was introduced by the U.S. It's a top-down round. Now that round alone changed or compared to the standard Russian gun tube, which is 125 millimeter smoothbore tungsten steel Sabo round, which the Abrams is invincible against by itself. Its armor is invincible against. But even if you this new top-down round that was introduced, which can be used by the K2 also, is 11.5 to 1 is the advantage that it gives it. Now that doesn't include all the other.
I don't think that matters though. I don't think that matters. I want to just focus. Like, I want to focus purely on the maintenance part of the war because that's what really matters. The logistics of the war that's what matters. It doesn't matter.
If you fire one missile,
maintenance doesn't matter.
One missile,
it
doesn't matter.
I think very accurate there because if you deal with maintenance, it's complicated if you take electricity and infrastructure, right?
If you send an F16,
a logistical nightmare.
Look, if you send like 15 F16s to Ukraine and arm them with the most advanced weapons you can, and then all six F16s get shot down, it doesn't matter because the F16 is the platform that has to be operated.
Exactly. Even if you slap,
F16 in particular require quite a lot of maintenance. It's the standard fleet in Norway, and it's notorious for being
this isn't an air war. This is a tank war.
Yeah.
This isn't. This isn't even an artillery war.
Actually.